Welcome to Vibrational Revelations. I'm Elena.
I am Alejandro.
And thank you so much for being a part of the Vibrational Revelations YouTube community. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for all of your input, your requests. For those of you that are brand new, Alejandro and I use scalar wave technology to measure the frequencies and levels of consciousness of different people and places. This gives us a deeper insight into the nature of our reality. And it is through the lens of understanding how is it that certain people, public figures that we reveal to you, of course, are characters playing out the role in this reality, just like you are, how it is that they relate to others, right? How do they perceive their reality? And it's through that lens that we have a deeper insight and understanding into how we perceive ourselves and also the information that is being shared on the internet. Now, make sure that you download using the link below a vibrational frequencies of awakening chart. This is something that we've revised a couple of months ago. So you definitely want to use that. And of course, to join our weekly discussions and a library of over 150 vibrational revelations episode, please make sure that you join our membership community. Mm-hmm. So let's begin.
Yes, just pay attention with an open mind and without judgment.
Yes.
So you can discern what resonates and what doesn't resonate, right?
And we always say that every single human being matters. We're all here to play our role in this reality, and every single player contributes with their own unique frequency signature. Mm-hmm. So today we're revealing to you Andrew Tate. Actually, I'll share something, and I think this is an important subject for us to talk about because he is such a controversial figure, right? He is banned from every platform. And the title of today's episode, by the way, Andrew Tate, Villain or Hero. So about a month and a half ago, I had somebody, I came across a couple of videos that have been shared about him abusing a woman. I was like, oh my gosh, this person is just horrific. How is that even possible? And I shared it with you. And then that kind of ended. We were not interested in even checking him out until one of my oldest sons, who's 24 years old, said to me, Mom, have you ever heard of Andrew Tate? I'm like, I have. He's one of those guys that's portrayed as a really bad guy, you know, a villain. He's like, well, have you ever listened to anything you have to say? I'm like, no. And I thought, wow, what a great opportunity, right? How we are sometimes given the information. And right now, more than ever, it's so easy to cut images, paste images, right? To misrepresent certain things. And this is how information comes to us. There's so much information. So that was a red flag for me too. It was like, wow, why do I believe what somebody's showing me in a couple of videos? Perhaps I need to be open-minded to hearing what this person has to say. But first, Alejandro and I decided, well, let's just read his frequencies. And my son said, Mom, I want to know what his frequencies are. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we decided to analyze Andrew Tate as a character playing the role in this reality. And after we've analyzed, we absolutely decided to record this episode. And we did start listening to a podcast. That podcast is like 5 hours long. So I'm 3 hours into it.
It was Pat David, right?
Patrick Pat David did an interview with
Valuetainment.
Under Valuetainment
platform.
Mm-hmm. So this interview took place about a month ago. And I thought, you know what, let me just hear what this guy has to say. And this is important, right? To keep in mind, we all have our own opinions. Again, in no way, shape or form, we're pro or against. We're going to give you the frequencies of how this guy, who is supposedly the most searched man on Google. I think at one point he had like 20 billion searches. He's been
not supposedly. He is.
He was at one point. I think a couple of months ago. Okay. Yes. Maybe today he's also. I don't know. But at one point he was a couple of months ago. He's been banned absolutely on most of the platforms, including, he said, Uber, Airbnb, all kinds of places. So, banks also kicked him out. So we're like, okay, well, what does this guy have to say? And how does he perceive reality? So, with that said, also after the interview, we had a lot of aha moments listening to the 3 hours of interviews, right? With the numbers we're about to reveal to you. So, part 1 will go into vibrational frequencies. Part 2 will be percentages.
We usually tend to read the frequencies before we dive into the character, right? And usually after we're done revealing their numbers, is that we dive in deeper to see if it matches, right? And how always curious about how accurate and how evident the information is, and it was
Pretty
we can
aligned.
say pretty aligned and right on point, like as almost all the cases, you know.
So I'm hoping Andrew Tate listens to this vibrational revelations episode and reaches out to us.
Yeah, and if he doesn't like the episode, I'm ready to step on the ring with him.
I don't know about that, but he was, I think, a 5-time world kickboxing champion at one point. He's a businessman. So let's dive into Andrew Tate. He's 35 years old, by the way. Has a lot to say. And fearless too. So he incarnated. Incarnation has to do with when the soul decides to enter a reality, right? Within the first 48 hours of conception, his soul decided to enter this reality with a frequency of 400. And by the way, one of the favorite movies he said in the interview that he's watched 15 to 20 times is Matrix. So this will be interesting. He'll get what we're talking about. So incarnation frequency 400. What does that mean? Very analytical. Very analytical. That means he's able to grasp large concepts. We'll dive deeper into that frequency for him. He was born at the frequency of 100. What is a frequency of 100? Worry. So there's that big drastic shift that happened from incarnation to birth. This is something that commonly happens amongst most human beings who are born. There's usually a drop, right? It's rare that we don't see that drop.
And the drop is due to the impact of the emotions that the mother
was experiencing
during pregnancy.
Yes.
Right?
Now, his overall frequency as of today, what do you guys think it is? I'm just going to give you a second. It is also a frequency of 400. So he has been walking what we call a hero's journey, overcoming frequencies below 200 and going beyond that, right? And he's done it. So he's way beyond his birth frequency of 100. Of course, we didn't do his entire lifetime. If he ever decides he wants to reach out, we'll be happy to do your lifetime, Andrew. So overall frequency is 400, which is analytical approach. So this is a person that's able to grasp large amounts of data, large amounts of information, and digest it.
Yes, and most humans actually that we've read, and we've read thousands, have walked the hero's journey.
Yes.
You know? Yes.
And you're one of them, I'm sure. Absolutely. All right. So now we're going to go into different aspects of how he views different aspects in his life. So now health. How does he view health? And he views health overall through the frequency of 500. 500. And again, the scale is from 0 to 1,000. Okay. And 500 is also, it's a frequency of flow, but it's a level of inspiration. So 0 to 199 is victimization. 200 to 499 is activation, and 500 is the stage of where inspiration begins. So he feels inspired. He's in the flow state with things related to health. Now we started incorporating something new. We break down the 3 aspects of how he relates to his mind, and that is a frequency of 500. Again, 500 is a pretty high frequency. Body he views through the lens of 500. Again, it inspires him. Mind excites him, right? And soul, how connected he is to his soul, is the frequency of 400, which is analytical. He approaches his soul from an analytical lens. Finances. So this is interesting. I would say this is actually one of the lowest numbers on his chart. He views finances through the lens of 200, and 200 is the first frequency of activation, and it's also the frequency of heroism. So he approaches finances through the lens of heroism. You can see he's actually not driven by finances. Creativity. He views creativity, and I always say, what is creativity? Creativity is all about what inspires a person. And when they feel inspired, how do they take action? In Andrew Tate's case, he has a creative mind because it's a frequency of 400. So again, he approaches his creativity, his imagination with analytical lens. Relationships. He views relationships. So you've heard of this misogyny, right? There's this whole story of he is horrible to women. So we thought, okay, let's apply this lens. So he views relationships also through analytical lens, frequency of 400 overall. Now, we've also started to include two new aspects in relationships, and that is, how does he relate to himself? And in most cases, the way we relate to others is the same lens that we approach how we relate to ourselves. So Andrew Tate relates to himself through the lens of 400, again, very analytical. And it's so interesting because watching the interview after we've done the numbers, you can see it so clearly, right? This guy is like playing a chess, a game of chess, which he was a chess player when he was little. His dad was a grandmaster, chess grandmaster. The way he relates to others is also through the lens of 400. Personal growth. So for him, I would say it's one of his guiding lights. It's a frequency of 500. Inspiration. This is the area that inspires him, that guides him, that ignites him. Philanthropy, the art of sharing and giving. And for him overall, so there's several numbers I'm going to give you. Overall, it's a frequency of 310, which is eagerness. He's eager to share. Again, in that frequency overall of activation. Service to himself, right? Philanthropically, how does he feel about sharing with himself? And it's a frequency of 310. And sharing with others is 125. And 125 is there's that a little bit of addictive pattern. You can say a pattern of unfulfilled desire, where he's still seeking a little bit of approval somehow. It's below the frequency of activation, the lens of activation. Intuition. So again, we're not measuring how intuitive he is. We're looking into when information comes to him, what gets activated. And in his case, it's a lens of 500. Again, 500 is a state of flow. It's again, inspiration. So he gets inspired by intuitive insights. Clairaudience is 500. Clairsentience is 500. Clairvoyance is 500. And claircognizance, which is his inner knowing, and that is 700. He has the least resistance in that area. So he tends to probably trust that aspect the most. And what's interesting is we haven't done an episode yet on athletes. That's coming up. We're going to do professional athletes, and you'll see there is actually a common theme that we can say, and that is when you are a pro athlete, right? You tend to be one with all the different senses. It's really about just flowing and becoming one with your clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance, and the claircognizance.
Yes, that also helps you to stay in the present moment. You know, you're fully connected and engaged with what you're doing. You're not easily distracted, you know, and that definitely helps to increase your level of readiness as well, and your level of awareness as well.
Also, it's a great skill to have in life, period. That's why he says it's not just being one or the other. It's a combination of everything. You have to master yourself. It's a great message. So now we're going to reveal to you 4 aspects of intellect, IQ. His IQ, which is the intellect, and again, we're not measuring it as if you were to take a test online. This is based, again, on the vibrational frequencies of awakening. So the IQ he views through the lens of 400. That's actually a pretty high IQ. The average for the human collective is 175. So he's definitely way, way above average. 400 is usually where the scientists come in. So again, he has this ability to digest large amounts of information and also share that information. EQ, emotional intelligence, we often talk about how that is superior to the intellect. In Andrew Tate's case, it's 250. So he's, from an emotional perspective, he is an observer. And he actually says that in many ways too, right? That it's not about letting your emotions be the driving force. So in his case,
he's comfortable with his emotions.
Yes. Social quotient is SQ. And oftentimes we see with public figures, we've done rock stars in the past, right? They have something that is extremely unique, and that is the level of magnetism. So SQ, social quotient, with people who are in the public eye, you always wonder, what is it that makes them luminous or magnetic, right? And in his case, he has a frequency from 0 to 1,000. His frequency for SQ is 800. So you can imagine he carries powerful charisma, and people are pulled to him without understanding why.
Energetic, a strong energetic pull, right?
Yes. AQ, adversity quotient. So when he's being challenged, okay, the frequency that he puts on is the frequency of 200. So that's the first frequency of activation. It is the heroic frequency. So he approaches it from a warrior, you could say, perspective.
With courage.
With courage.
Bring it on.
Yes.
I think that is definitely extremely important for a champion, right? To get
for a successful person in general.
Successful to survive, not only for survival, but to transcend that stage of survival and really to feel, and then feeling comfortable with your feelings. You're just ready to tackle whatever challenges cross your path, you know?
Yes.
Now, as we know, it's all about the feeling. So the better you feel, the higher the frequency, right? And the lower the level of resistance that you're experiencing. Now we go into percentages, and it's from 1 up to 100%. In the joy, this is how much Andrew Tate is enjoying the role that he's playing as Andrew in this reality, and it is 92%. In the ego really is not right or wrong, negative or positive, or good or bad. It's just information. And the ego is just thought, and it's all about how much the person relies on information, right? And for him, it's 96%. And within the ego, there are two types of thoughts: the inferior version of the ego and the superior version of the ego. For him, out of the 96% of the ego, 90% represents the inferior version of the ego. That means that the type of thoughts that he pays attention to the most is giving him the sense of that whatever he's doing might not be good enough or might not be enough. So, and often happens, depending on the person's personality, they could end up being workaholics or perfectionists, right? But it's definitely a very strong driving force when it's well managed. And his advantage is that he has a high number in as his clear cognizance when it comes to his intuition, and his AQ at 200 and his EQ at 250. So that gives him an advantage point. In the now, which is how much time he spends in the now, in the present moment, and for him is 91%. So he's very present most of the time. No? Integrity. This is how loyal and faithful he is to his core values and beliefs, to his truth. That it doesn't have to be your truth, my truth, or Elena's truth. It's 100%. Now we also measure integrity to self. It's also 100%. So he doesn't sacrifice his beliefs. He's loyal to his beliefs. And we measure integrity to others. and for him is 98%. So you can say that whatever he says, he means. And I think I've heard him say that too yesterday, that I say what I mean, and because I feel it as true.
Unless
And
people cut out certain pieces and then just misrepresent what he says.
Right, anyone can be taken out of context. Right now, it's very easy to do that with technology, but the frequencies, you can't fake a frequency. You can't.
He's a straight shooter, that's for sure.
He doesn't even know that we're doing this, anyways. Self-awareness, how aware he is about his inner world and the outer world, and also the level of consciousness that he's experiencing at 400. And he is at 98% when it comes to his self-awareness.
It's pretty high.
Definitely. It's a great advantage for someone that is mostly in the present moment and that is fully aware. It's
a level of mastery in a way too, right?
Definitely level of mastery, yes. Clarity, how clear he is about his perspective of life, his vision of life, the path he's on, and so forth, what he's doing or not doing, either way, is 100%. So he's a straight shooter, like I say sometimes.
Yes.
Then we go into aligning with divine purpose. This is definitely one of my favorite numbers, our categories. And we compare this to self-realization. This is more as how well the person is playing the divine role they decided to play in this reality, right? We have no idea really of the specifics. The script of this role is being unfolded as we navigate through life. And how do we recognize that? As how we feel. The more comfortable you feel with yourself, the more and that is a byproduct of how much you pay attention to what resonates with you, and doing the things that bring you joy help you to come into being in full alignment with your divine purpose. For him, alignment with divine purpose is at 100%. And at his level in the joy at 92% is definitely a great indication, a clear indication that he is doing what he's supposed to be doing from a divine perspective.
One thing I want to say, regardless of the frequency you're in, because we've also revealed to you what we call the great awakeners.
Yes.
I think the biggest message, the biggest takeaway is to have fun, being yourself, and then seeing the alignment, right, with divine purpose. Those two are a key. And that is the key to having success.
Like true success, right?
True
because
success.
It's not really measured, as we know, by the amount of money or material things that one collects in this world. And we're all here for the sake of experiencing joy, freedom, and expansion, right? That expansion, growth. So joy comes from experiencing freedom. The more freedom you experience, the more joy you're going to experience. And that stems from detaching from the programming, like breaking breaking away from the matrix.
I
right?
was just gonna say,
from what is expected by society, and owning what you feel and just freely sharing it. And we both appreciate that about him. We don't know him personally, but we're just describing what we see based on the frequencies that we've read. And that is really something that we all need to learn, to honor our inner voice, honor and follow what resonates, and do what brings us joy. Now, when it comes to alignment with personal purpose, we compare this to self-actualization, more as of his sense of fulfillment, right? As of what the persona self wanted and wants to experience. And for him is 100% alignment with personal purpose. Compassion, how compassionate Andrew Tate is 98%. So I know he might come across, based on what I've heard, because I never knew who he was, really, that he is some people say he's too harsh and, he's not compassionate and so forth. We understand that. And, it could come across like that when someone is so clear, has 100% clarity, and it is walking their path, and they're not here to please the masses, and they're honoring their inner voice. They're going to say it as is. Whatever they feel is true to them, so they stand in their power. Yeah, some people are going to feel uncomfortable, that's for sure. I understand that. And we also understand if you don't understand it, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Empathy, 99%. Energy purity. And this is really not how pure his energy is, or one's energy is. This is more in relation to how much he's embodying the level of consciousness of 400, right? So he's embodying it almost to the fullest. Yes, and he's one step away from getting to the 100% on the energy purity, right? He will be able to have the 500 as the overall frequency, which he's already familiarized with that frequency when it comes to personal growth, health, his connection with mind, body, his intuition as well, and all categories.
What's his energy
under
purity?
Intuition. Energy purity 100%.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. So he's embodying it to the fullest, right? He's one step away from experiencing the next level, which will be the 500, like I said. Yes. Now, when it comes to dimensions, we measure how much time the person is, or how much the person is experiencing the fifth dimension. And for him is 33%. 33% of the time he's experiencing the fifth dimension, which is being in the state of flow, right? When you're extremely comfortable with yourself, there's no need for seeking validation or for anyone to confirm what you're feeling. You just share it because you feel it, you honor it. Then that helps you to stay in the present moment. That helps you to remain experiencing the fifth dimension, and that contributes to your level of joy, and by default impacts how aligned you are with your divine purpose.
But of course, there are people at 50 frequency overall that are also staying in the present moment, honoring themselves. They're just not experiencing that dimension. I think in his case, it's much more related to staying inspired and connecting to that inspiration. And it's also the frequency, right? The fifth dimension has a lot to do with feeling inspired and also taking action towards what inspires one. It has to do with that level of your joy as well. So it's a reflection. His numbers really are a reflection of what he shares. I'm glad that my oldest son said, can you guys check his frequency out? At first I was resistant, and it's a great invitation, I would say, for all of us. If you feel resistance, why are you feeling that resistance? Who told you the story? Where's your limiting belief coming from? And stay open to exploring, to seeing beyond the limitations of what you've seen on the media, on the news, or perhaps what you've inherited as a limiting belief or a pattern from your friends, family, surroundings, whatever it might be. So it was a great opportunity for us to also just explore beyond what we've been presented
and if you
with.
have spent time listening to what he shares, I will say, and you feel triggered, then take it as an invitation to dive in, go inward, and do a self-assessment. That's what, with an open mind, become the investigator and the one being investigated, just for the sake of growth and expansion. So you can figure out the reason why you're being triggered and why you're bothered. And this doesn't mean that you have to agree with him. We're not saying that we agree with his style fully or with everything he says, but at least it's comforting to know that there is, you can find people, they stand to their power and they share what they feel, and the frequencies are telling you, that he's in his full integrity, right? He's loyal to his truth.
Mhm.
And that's a lesson for all of us.
Wonderful. So thank you so much. I actually think, thanks for bringing that up. The triggers are important stepping stones to discovering who we are,
right,
and being able to also recognize how we're all connected. It is through the lens of separation that we're holding ourselves as the collective from moving forward into unity, which we all are part of that oneness, right? The unified field that you hear quantum physics talks about. So again, the triggers, remember, are opportunities for growth. Thank you so much.
Thank
and we'll
you.
see you next time.
Mhm.